To an old person, material things become less important compared to joyful memories. But for Freddy, this becomes even more crucial, especially since he suffers from Alzheimer's. However, he only has heartbreaking memories of his family's tragedy during the war. Yet despite all this, he desperately clings to those memories and has lived a long life, all for the absolute singular purpose of revenge. Freddy is a simple man who still works a regular job despite his old age. He's close friends with Jason, a young co-worker, and he always has his back. He would also stand in as a father figure at times and teach him his own brand of wisdom. Early on, Freddy would demonstrate skills he learned as a soldier during the Vietnam War, which goes to show he's a capable old man not to be trifled with. He confronted the rude customer and made him out to be a thief. He cornered the man into a situation he can't get out of, so all he can do is pay Freddy. He happily went back to Jason and made him whole again. However, all this changed when his wife passed away. He was approached by strange men, all asking him about the plan and the mission. With nothing more left to lose, he's resolved to carry them all out. Later that evening, he went home and revealed the meticulous planning he's been carrying out over the decades. He sits down to record himself and his confession. During the Japanese occupation, his father was framed and was arrested and died after being tortured. And now his mother went mad until she too passed away. His brother was deceived by his friend and was forced to work in a mine and lost his life. Then his sister was taken to become a comfort woman. She committed suicide after returning home. There will be no redemption for the people involved in his family's suffering. There will only be death. Freddy returns to the restaurant to go see Jason. He needs his help in driving him around since he's too old to keep his license. Jason is getting paid for his services, so it's not so bad. But to sweeten the deal even further, he'll be driving in a Porsche. Their first stop is at the hospital. To lighten up the drive, Jason shared a nugget of trivia to which Freddy corrected. Finally, they arrived and parked underground. Freddy explicitly instructed Jason to stay in car and not follow him. Freddy has a detailed map of the hospital camera blind spots. He also took advantage of his old age to secure a good seat. His target is Young Baek Jin, who's married to a nasty trophy wife.
혈관에 수축해서 라인 잡기가 좀.
지금 나 가르쳐? 변명이나 듣자고 여기 앉아 있는 것 같아. 그냥 죄송하다고 해. 죄송하다는 말 몰라?
Eventually, she and her team leaves the hospital, and Freddy makes his move. But Jason appears and sat down with Freddy, his good-natured personality nearly sabotaging Freddy's perfect plan. Freddy dismissed Jason and continued with his plan. Jason left shortly but was noticed by one of the night shift nurses. Freddy moved stealthily upstairs and through his target's room. He sets himself up and wakes Chairman Young. Of course, the chairman has no idea what's going on, that is, until Freddy tells his story. Freddy then executed him while he squeals like a pig. The very next day, the police are on the scene. Detective Kong found pieces of the water bottle silencer and was called over to see a witness. It was the night shift nurse. She described the suspicious man that night. Meanwhile, Jason was paying in a net cafe when he saw the news. He gets the feeling that he was the primary suspect. Their next stop is the library where prominent pro-Japanese professor Yang Sung-ik is having a lecture. After the seminar, Jason was tasked to follow the car the professor was on. They went ahead of it, and Jason asked him about the hospital incident, but Freddy simply dismissed him. The car arrived shortly, and the professor got off. Freddy followed quietly and confronted him. Freddy condemned the professor for selling off his brother to the Japanese, who, as a result, died in the mines. The professor reacted in a panic when he hears the brother's name, Han Dongju. Freddy then called him back using his chosen Japanese name, aimed the gun and fired. The gun jammed and the professor managed to close the gates, but Freddy got through. He took him down and ended his life. Freddy took his ID just in time as Jason sees the horrific scene before him. They both flee, but Jason was in shock. Freddy started coughing violently, which brought him back to reality. Detective Kong is once again in the crime scene when he received the ballistics report. Apparently, the bullets used to end Chairman Jung was previously used by the Kwantung Army during the Japanese colonial rule. Freddy wakes up in Jason's place and then recalled the other night. He notices Jason helping his sick father. When he came back, he saw the news footage and got angry at Freddy. Jason is now an accessory of the crime whether he likes it or not. But Freddy promised that he'll turn himself to police and admit he's the mastermind after his mission. Then they were harassed by a gang of loan sharks. Jason owes a huge amount and is already late in his repayments. Freddy tries to intervene but got insulted instead, so he stepped out and smashed the gang's BMW and took down one of the thugs. Now that he has their undivided attention, Freddy gave them money for the shattered window and also promised to pay Jason's debt. This seems to placate the leader, so they left. Freddy then scolded Jason for getting involved with loan sharks, but he didn't have much choice. They both got in the car and Freddy begged for more time, but suddenly Jason had another idea. Freddy finally realized where they were headed and insisted on Jason staying put. He cornered Jason and didn't give him much of a choice. But in return, Freddy is willing to give him all his life savings, and it is more than enough to solve Jason's money problems. Freddy then finally tells Jason his motivations for the killings, but tells him there are 3 more targets. They're both in this together now. Freddy arranged for a fake ID using the professor's name. Suddenly, Jason got a call from his mother asking him to pick up his father, who went off to protest against his former company, Daehan. He got crippled from an accident, but didn't receive a single cent in compensation. At the protest, Daehan boss Kim Moo-jin got mad and smacks the guard for failing to drive away the protesters. He eventually reached his residence, which exudes such grand opulence. Inside, Kim talks to his father, who orders him to keep the professor's death a secret. Apparently, they're preparing for an upcoming event with Asashi in attendance. Back at the police station, the detectives are all trying to piece together the pattern. The man earlier is General Kim Kai-dok. Tojo Hasashi was also of interest. Both were highly decorated during the war and now hold prominent positions in Daehan. Then their chief started asking for volunteers for the event, and Kong, seeing who's in attendance, gladly signed up. The day of the event finally came. Freddy arrives and used his fake ID to gain access. But he was stopped by Detective Kong for a quick bag check. Inside of it were strange stuff, yet nothing suspicious. He was free to go. Tojo Hasashi walks in and was disappointed that General Kim wouldn't make it. Freddy reminisces the time when a younger Hasashi took his sister away from him to be a comfort woman for the Japanese army. He locks himself in the toilets and begins his preparations. Afterwards, he took a quick smoke to hide his scent just as Detective Kong steps in. To be thorough, Detective Kong inspects the toilet but found nothing suspicious. Hasashi steps onto the stage for a few words while Freddy readies himself. Kong is alerted to the fact that an imposter is posing as Professor Yang and he recognizes Freddy. But it was too late. The smoke screen has dropped and the crowd panics. Tojo Hasashi was whisked away, but Freddy was a step ahead of them. He took Hasashi hostage and got away from the police. Then he takes his phone and calls General Kim and tells him that he's next on his list. They both step in the elevators, but Hisashi managed to disarm Freddy. Hisashi took the gun and fired but missed Freddy. They both fight for the gun again, but Freddy got the better of Hisashi. He tried to beg for his life, but Freddy's revenge is absolute. Things got more complicated when the whole venue has been locked down. Freddy tells Jason to send a paramedic up on the 4th floor. So that's what he did. When they got there, they find Freddy slumped on the floor with a gun pointed at them. Freddy causes a commotion to distract everybody. While everyone is scrambling around, Jason and Freddy make a quick getaway. Detective Kong notices the two and gives chase, but he was too late. They both get in the car and sped their way to freedom. But Freddy suddenly collapsed and he's already out of his medications, so Jason takes him to his doctor. He wakes up that evening and his doctor tells him to stop his mission, but Freddy has come too far. A little later, Freddy joins Jason and asks one last favor from him. Meanwhile, General Kim starts to get serious by hiring agents from his brigade. The next day, Detective Kong visits the general for a chat. He inquires about his connection with the deceased men and also brings up a war biography. Kong then asked what exactly happened back then. Freddy sits down for his final confession as Jason looks on. General Kim also has a few words to get off his chest. As Freddy describes the atrocities committed by the general, on the other hand, Kim was angrily justifying his actions. Jason emotionally takes it all in. Eventually, Freddy reveals his last target, Kiyahara Takayoshi. Freddy gives Jason the money and prepare to leave, but Jason wanted to give one last gift to Freddy. He got him a suit and Freddy is looking sharp. A couple of cops noticed the red Porsche and alerted Detective Kong. Apparently, the two agents were listening in and sped ahead. Freddy notices the police vehicle and leads Jason into a tea shop. He then causes a distraction to provoke the two cops. But when the two got there, Freddy and Jason are both gone. They used the crane to get down from the building. Having a narrow escape, Freddy tells Jason to go straight home, but they were rammed by the agents. The agent casually walked over and disarmed Freddy. The two were taken to a junk shop. Kim Mu-jin arrives and finds the recording of Freddy's confession. He destroys the camera and orders the agents to finish them off. Freddy is trying hard to cut his bonds. Then, just as they were about to get shot, Jason tells them that he made a copy of the tape, and it's to guarantee his safety if things don't work out. He leads them to the loan shark's place, and the shark is happy thinking he's about to get paid but was furious with Jason's demand. The agent stepped in and trouble starts. Freddy started to cough again and faints, but this was a ruse and he managed to disarm the agent. The shark tells the agent that it's under the table. Kim checks it but can't find the tape. Then they both realize that Jason tricked them and there was never a copy. The shark got a good hit at the agent and eventually falls down. Kim and Jason then start to battle it out. With Jason already beaten up, Kim has the advantage. He was about to get done in when Freddy saved him. Freddy knew where to find Jason. Seeing Jason's sorry state, Freddy thanks him and said his final goodbyes. On his own now, Freddy drives the Porsche, but his condition worsened and he got into an accident. Unfortunately, His Alzheimer started kicking in and he wanders on the road for a while until a car picks him up. The family asks him where he needs to go, but Freddy can't remember anything. The kid asks him about his tattoos and a flashback hits Freddy.
조선은 존재의 이론이자 국민으로서 이 자리에 섰다. 가네야마 신이치다.
생각이 났습니다.
Meanwhile, Detective Kong arrives at the crime scene and notices Jason.
행사를 취소하시는
모두 다 빠져나가도 본역까지 혼자 잘 부탁해.
A military ceremony is underway for the unveiling of General Kim's statue. Freddy arrives in full uniform and was greeted by his co-conspirators. General Kim takes the podium and executes his speech with such pride that it invoked another flashback in Freddy. The speech today was in stark contrast with the one he made decades ago.
오늘 이 제막한 전우들의 영입니다. 이렇게 합니다. 잊지 말아야 하는 그 자유가
Freddy stands up and starts walking down the aisle, but was stopped by security. There was a tense moment with neither of them giving an inch.
나가라고 이 새끼야.
But Freddy is actually on his way to receive an award for his services. Freddy reached the stage and accepted his medal. As applause thunder about, he reveals his true intentions. General Kim is a hard man to crack, but Freddy knows his weak point. Using his granddaughter as hostage, Freddy forced the truth out of Kim. The general tearfully confessed his role in the war and how he betrayed his country. To gain standing with the Japanese Empire, he did unspeakable things. About how the general deceived Freddy's sister, who was also Kim's fiancée. His granddaughter's heart breaking at his every word, and of how he threw away his national pride and loyalty just so he can not just survive, but also thrive. Satisfied, Freddy finishes off the general without a second thought. He then casually walks away from the stage to face the music. Jason and Kong is rushing towards the location when Jason finally figured out who the last target is. Freddy points the gun to himself and recalls his last painful memory. A younger Freddy enlists to the Japanese army to survive.
너 내가 만주에서 일본
누나처럼
너 내가 부끄러워?
무슨 일이
His sister couldn't believe it, but Freddy insults her and tells her to call him by his new name, Kiyahara Takayoshi. He was about to pull the trigger when Jason arrived just in time and managed to change his mind.
의미가 없어져요. 세상이 싫어서 이 일을 하신 거라면서요. 죽음을 이용해 비겁하게도.
Freddy is now in prison. His doctor revealed the extent of his plan of revenge.
김치대기에 카프레이드가 벌어진 아내가 임신한 걸 알았어. 말 다시 땅에 묻었네. 다시 책임져야 할 가족이 생겼다는.
Jason visits Freddy, but he seems lost, the effect of Alzheimer's bearing down on him.
창고에 영치금 넣어만 드시지 마시고 마시는 거 많이 드세요.
뭐라요?
네. 나쁜 사람은 아니에요.
But when Jason tries to shake his hand, Freddy seems to remember their special handshake. Overcome with emotion, Jason hugs him and promises to visit again.
볼게요.
Freddy returns back to his cell with a serene expression, his burdens gone as he atones for his sins.